Welcome back, everybody. On today's episode of Heroes of the Storm, we are going to be playing the one tank who I really love and never play enough, and haven't played on this channel for quite some time. His name is ETC. He's a cow, and he makes people dance. Today's team comps are Tychus, Mephisto, ETC, Karazim, Zagara versus Greymane, Imperius, Anduin, Tassadar, and Stitches. So, my name is Windback, and we're going to teach you a thing or two about this cow. ETC, number one, is just... he's first pick, first banned material, at least in the minds of 90% of the player base, because of his insane ability to disrupt just everything. His W is going to be one of the biggest forms of CC in the game that just fuck so many things up. So, if you're thinking Johanna with Condemn, goodbye, goodbye indeed. If you're thinking Johanna and Condemn are the best, then you haven't been paying attention to loudspeakers and face melt here. These two, or the ability plus the talent, is absolutely ridiculous when it comes to ETC, because if someone's channeling, if someone's trying to land a skill shot, if there's even minions in a wave, ETC is just going to pop the button and fuck shit up, because that's what he does. He is a rampaging cow with a guitar that is also an axe. So, one of the things I'm going to try to show you in this game specifically is how to be careful with your engages, how to be smart about your disruption, and what the best way to build the character is in the face of what you got to play up against. This is one of my Storm League games. This is in Diamond. It's on the lower end of Diamond, but, you know, take that as you will. Since the enemy team has Greymane, since they have Imperius, and everybody else on their team, with the exception of Tassadar, has some pretty lofty auto attacks, we're going to take Block Party at 1. Now, I know that the charges itself, they're going to get eaten up pretty quick by Tassadar auto attacks. But, given that ETC can basically give this to his entire team, if Tassadar's not building his auto build, he's not going to be able to get rid of those block stacks. So, that means that if ETC is around anybody who needs block charges, as long as they're not being hit by Tassadar, they're going to have a very, very strong amount of damage reduction. So if somebody's getting hit by Greymane or Imperius and they're not being hit by Tassadar, they've got 75% physical armor for 2 attacks. And Greymane and Imperius specifically are going to hit pretty average speed, and those autos are going to hit really fucking hard. So Block Party in this instance is going to do way more for our team than Prog Rock would, because getting the globes for Prog Rock, making sure that eventually we're going to be doing 80 to 100 healing per use of our E for our team, isn't going to be as good as blocking anywhere from 100 to 300 damage per auto. Like, it's pretty fucking nuts when you think about it. But that's just one of the decisions that you have to make on ETC early on in the game, and that's all dependent on the comp, it's all dependent on what you're up against, what you're playing with. The Anduin save is just late. So, that being said, that is one of the very few talent tiers I think ETC has that you really need to make a decision. When you're building ETC, there is usually just one build, and then if you're going to deviate from that, you have to have a very specific plan to deviate from it with a very specific intention of something to do. Now, I don't know if you understand what that means, if it makes any sense to you, but when you're playing ETC, your engage is all, it's up to you. You don't go in with your power slide until you feel like your team is ready for you to go in, or you have some sort of pick, or you have something that's very clear for your team to follow up on. ETC isn't the tankiest tank in the tank pool. He's got big health pool, but it's not. Wow, fucking that ability up hard. Oh, he didn't take Q build, so I guess it's no big deal. Health pool, right? ETC's he's got a huge chunk of health. I mean, 3,000 is not anything to sniff at. So let's see. Stitches is sitting at 4,000. He's got 7 globes, so he's probably got quite a bit of that coming in. Which button? What's this one? Found it. So Stitches is definitely on the higher end of tank health pools. I believe probably the highest. So you can compare that. ETC has 1,000 less health than Stitches. So ultimately, that's going to make him way less tanky as the game goes on. Not to mention the percentage damage coming from Greymane and Imperious. They're going to be able to blow us up real big, because we do have a lot of health, but we're fine. Everything's fine. Missing it by the absolute fraction of a hair. But anyway, his health pool is big enough that percentage damage hurts him a lot, but it's small enough that normal damage from just bursts and spells and all that stuff is going to hurt him a lot too. So there you go. Anyway, being as though this is more of a kind of a ranked guide, a way to play this character in Storm League with a team who is drafting around your choices, it's going to be more important for you to know things about ETC that make more sense in a draft setting. Like things that go well with ETC. There are very few things that don't go well with ETC. Ooh. Let's get this boss steal first. Dodge his fucking swipe at the tip of the big cow body. They're only 9 to our 10, so we don't actually give a shit if they try to step up here. We've got the mosh pit ready. Okay, well, not my favorite thing in the universe. I got the palm though. That was a fantastic palm. We're going to get the kill, not on the character that I wanted, which would have been the Greymane, but we still got a kill. That's still perfectly okay with me. The fact that the enemy team, though, took that fight 9 to 10 and still almost killed us is a little bit upsetting. Because I think if they had killed me, had I not gotten the palm, pretty sure that would have put them in 10. We would have wasted a shitload of ults, and then they could have turned and probably killed us all. So, yeah. It is all my Kirazim that team fight did not go tits up and ruin our whole day. But anyway, so when we're playing ETC, when we're drafting ETC, it's important for you as a player to know that ETC is a first or second round pick. When the draft is coming through, you have to make sure that you get this character early on, because he's one of 2 very big and popular bans alongside Johanna for the tank pool. It is typically going to be ETC, Johanna, or Garrosh on the tank ban side. And you're just going to have to kind of, well, that's a wall. That's sure. Put it right on top of the force wall. I'm sure it'll get something. He's a very contested pick, so he can be picked up early by the enemy team. Or he will be banned if the enemy team has a tank that they don't want to play into him. So things like Arthas, things like Diablo, things like even Garrosh to some extent don't want to play into ETC because of loudspeakers and face melt. And I'm sure you can see right now, I've used Face Melt a shitload of times, but the bigger radius around ETC is going to make it absolutely fucking nuts. From the starting radius that you have, which is pretty limp and tiny, let's be honest, the loudspeakers area of effect is fucking huge. It's just nuts. Which is going to synergize with your 13 talent here. There are no other talents at this tier. These are just trap talents. They don't do anything. Don't ever pick them. Okay, maybe that's not true. We'll talk about that in a second. But mic check is 100% always going to be the best talent at this tier. And the only reason it's not going to be is if you're building a very specific other way to do a very, very specific thing, which isn't how you normally play ETC. And then you're going to have, okay, just get the 3-man mosh here casually, save Tychus from the Gorge Dip, big root, gonna stop the Anduin ult as well, miss the Maw, that's fine, that's totally fine. We're just gonna take Greymane and Stitches down casually. Would have been an amazing palm if I had seen it before I had queued away. I think he got me just as I used my power slide, so appreciate the thought there, buddy, but I don't need it. Anyway, back to mic check. So, mic check is going to reduce the cooldown of Face Melt by 6 seconds. This is on a 10-second cooldown normally, which means it is a 4-second cooldown in that massive AoE area around ETC for hitting at least 2 targets. And that does not mean just heroes. If you hit minions, if you hit mercenaries, you're going to just get that 4-second cooldown reduction. It is insane. It's absolutely fucking insane. That you can just use that W so often and fuck so much stuff up. I mean, you saw me interrupt the Anduin ult. I fucked up a couple Imperious Qs at this point, and that's just hitting our Face Melt at the just most clumped up time. I'm just aiming it to hit the most people. You can't come over this bridge when I'm already on the bridge. Don't follow me. Please don't follow me. Okay. But having that ability is just the absolute most amazing thing about ETC. And especially if you're drafting him into comps who need to stand still and channel abilities, or who need to just wait for a lot of abilities to happen, like Tassar and his Q or Anduin's ult, you're just going to pop W 90% of the time. You don't even have to aim it. I mean, you don't have to know what's coming. If you hit W, you're probably going to interrupt something. This is a mosh on 2 people. We're going to get 3 people because Imperious thought he could interrupt it with his Q and didn't know how to aim his Q to do that. Yeah. Welcome to the turn. Zagara is still pushing bottom. I think we're going to lose Tychus. There's nothing we can do about that. I don't have any health to continue the fight, so we're just going to leave, and hopefully Kerosene and Fisto can make it out. Zag's still pushing, getting plenty of pressure going on the bottom lane for us, which is nice, but I don't know if it's actually... Hopefully it doesn't get her killed. Yeah, it looks like she got out. Perfect stuff. Honestly, Hanamura objective is so shitty, that's probably the better call anyway, because the enemy team still has to push this bitch all the way back, and she got plenty of XP for us to maintain this 3-level lead and just stomp all over the enemy team. Yeah. But anyway, the other level 13 talents are bad. We'll just say bad. But what I was mentioning, really, I don't have Mosh Pit for this. We don't have any ults except Palm for this, honestly. So this probably isn't our greatest team fight in the world. Okay. Well, there's a Greymane, I guess. Tassadar's still in the bottom lane, though. That makes sense why we wait for it. Okay. 4 versus 5, we don't need ults. We're just going to stop him right here in this choke. Get the kill. Get the second kill. everything's going to go perfect. We're still on the objective. This is still the same objective the enemy team is trying to push backwards. Pretty nuts. Tassadar probably losing the game for his team there by soaking in the bottom lane, but his team also should have been completely aware that we could fuck them at any moment. A little bit of a miscommunication on their side. Right, but the instances that you would want to pick, never Encore. Never Encore. Just ever. Never, ever, ever Encore. This ability sucks. I don't think it even warrants an explanation. It's terrible. Don't ever pick it. It's garbage. Face Melt, however, 50% fading slow over 2 seconds is not the worst. Now, why would you want to pick Face Melt? Face Melt is going to be the talent that you take when you want to slow down a very specific carry and you have a team that is diving onto that carry with you, but can't blow her up or blow that carry up instantly. Now, that's somebody like a Li Ming, like probably a Vala, or like a hyper mobile hyper carry who is going to just shit out damage. Okay, well, it's probably time to leave. I think he's dead. There's no saving. A little bit worried. Yeah, that's what I thought. Gonna die for that mosh pit, trying to save the Tychus that we should have just let die. That's 2 kills for the enemy team, and now they are level 16 with that, with 26% on their core. We're still pushing top, though, so maybe this is fine. But anyway, the Face Melt, if you are going to pick this up, this isn't even the talent that's going to make you pick it, right? You're not going to pick Face Melt because, oh, I want to build Face Melt. You're going to pick Face Melt because you've taken Speed Metal, number 1, for the movement speed, 20%, just always for a basic ability or heroic ability. And then you are going to pick up Face Melt on top of that because your move speed with this ability, coupled with the slow from this ability, is going to allow you and your team, because you give allied heroes movement speed as well, to catch up to whatever sneaky hypermobile carry is trying to get away from you. So Speed Metal and Face Melt, if you take those talents, they should be taken together, whereas 99% of the time for everything else, you should be taking loudspeakers and mic check. Now, if you've seen other people play this character, some quote-unquote higher-level players on Twitch like to pick Encore, and I don't care what the justification is for it. The talent is garbage, so don't do it, ever. It's not worth it. Just ever worth it. But we'll go over the rest of the build at the end. We'll make sure that you know what the build is for ETC for this draft. Ooh, big 3-man root. Huge maw after that. Absolutely nuts. Getting ready for the power slide. That's just it. 4-man mosh on top of Anduin using his ult. He had no fucking chance to save his teammates. That maw was so fucking fantastic, because it gave me all the time that I needed to actually get the cooldown back for Mosh Pit, and the power slide, and the kills, and literally everything to murder the shit out of the enemy team. It was also an incredible Mephisto ult to grab 3 people, forcing the Anduin to get nice and close range to use his ult to stop Mephisto from doing damage, but it didn't even matter because the Mosh Pit just erupted inside of them. Really, really, really fantastic stuff by my team, and I don't often get to say that. MVP. Fucking nuts. Just nuts. Yeah, so there you have it. 12 merc camps, really. That was my... I'll take it, I guess. I'm sure I don't need to explain to you the ins and outs of Mosh Pit and why it's the best fucking ultimate ever created, but yeah, Like, if you're picking ETC, you already know that Mosh Pit is just like a fucking game changer. The build, though, is going to be Block Party at 1. This is one of the pickable talents, one of the choices you get to make with ETC, depending on the enemy team comp and your team comp. You can see between these two here, Block Party was the pick. Loudspeakers at 4, 99% of the time. Again, this is basically your mandatory pick at 4. 7 is Pinball Wizard. Other people like to take different stuff at this tier. I don't think Echo Pedal is good. I don't necessarily like to clear waves with ETC, so using that ability, sitting on a wave, and then slowly whittling it away is kind of like, meh, whatever. Face Melt means I can just power slide into a wave, hit W on it, and it's basically dead. And then I can go off and do other things. And then, even though my combo's down, I still get to pick how I want to engage with ETC. I get to make the rules as far as stuff goes, so it doesn't bother me that I have to use my full engage combo with ETC to use this talent efficiently. Yeah. That's probably a debate for ETC players, but level 10's Mosh Pit, their whole team was just completely fucked every time that we used, well, not every time, most times that we used it. Mic check at 13, I've already told you. Showstopper at 16 because I wanted the armor when going in with my Q, because the enemy team was doing a pretty good job at trying to chunk me on my engages, so armor's pretty important. Imposing Presence is always very good there too. Imposing Presence should have been probably my pickup, actually, to stop Greymane from auto-attacking even faster. It's not like he really did a whole lot, but you can kind of take away slowing on the auto-attacks, slowing period, is just going to be a very good reason to have Imposing Presence. And then Bolt of the Storm at 20, because being able to bolt with ETC and get one of those big bolt moshes is going to be nuts. I also think, though, every talent at 20 for ETC is completely viable. So Tour Bus is amazing if you're going to line that bitch up correctly, or Death Mosh if you're getting blown up as ETC because he is a squishier tank, or if you're playing into a comp that's going to be really good at killing you. Deathmatch is always, always, always going to be a solid decision, because it just fucking destroys people who are not ready for it. So that's the build. That's ETC. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have anything to say about this character. If you're here to tell me about the ways of the Encore talent, please don't type that comment. Just don't do it. I appreciate it. And then like, subscribe, do whatever you feel like doing. This fucking skin is amazing too. Like, look at that. That's just so. He's got the speakers and the StarCraft. I fucking love ETC. I'll be back tomorrow though with some more stuff to wet your whistle, and we'll see what's going on. Bye.